Thank you for listening to the Living Zen-podcast. If you've been listening for a while and are wondering how you can take the next step in developing your own Zen practice, or how you can more formally connect with our community, please explore our online Orientation to Zen practice, which you can find on our website at zenwest.ca. If you enjoy the resources that we make available online, we would very much appreciate your support. There are a number of ways that you can help us continue to do the work we do. One of the best ways is by becoming a part of our community as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen-podcast, eZendo, and our online Orientation to Zen will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at zenwest.ca and click on Become an Associate. Many more Zen Talks are available for purchase on iTunes and at Amazon.com. Just search for Venerable Eshu Martin. These talks are also made available for free on our website for all of our members and associates. You may also want to download the Living Zen Podcast app, which makes downloading and listening to the podcast effortless. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening to Living Zen. Tonight, I just want to start by introducing Kuya Minogue, who's just sitting in the second seat over here. She's the abbess of the Creston Zen Centre in Creston, British Columbia. We've sort of been, chatting on Facebook and email for a number of years, and I'm really honored that you've taken the time to come out here. It felt safe to come out here and hang with all of us folk here on the Tuesday. Hope we'll have a chance to chat a little bit more. Kuya she's been teaching Zen writing workshops for a number of years, and in fact, I think you're teaching one while you're here in Victoria, aren't you? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so if anyone's interested in finding out more about what Zen writing is and finding out more about that workshop, I'll give you an opportunity to talk about that in the tea circle afterwards. Okay? So I think that's a great place to start to talk. So many times you've heard me talk about different ways of practicing Zen. Well, maybe you haven't heard me many times if this is your first time, but you will. This form that we have here of taking up a straight seat, paying attention to our breathing is, I always refer to it as like the kiddie pool of Zen practice. Just like when we want to learn how to swim, we don't jump into an icy cold ocean with 10-foot swells. We say, let's go to a controlled and relatively safe environment where we can sort of develop our strokes, learn what it's like to be in the water. So we go to a place where the environment is kind of contrived, it's a little bit controlled. And that's what we have here with all these nice straight lines and no papers sticking out, nothing to distract our busy minds. We've got this environment that's set up and sustained by a whole crew of people that come in early to provide this quiet, balanced environment for us to just engage in this simple activity of sitting. So what's so big about sitting, I suppose, is the question. Well, it's just an opportunity for us to allow all that busyness that's in our heads all the time, all that, the lists that we make and the things that we need to do and the people that we need to see, to all just slip away. And for the first time in a long time, maybe the first time in our whole lives, we have this opportunity to simply allow ourselves to come to rest in this unfolding activity that we call our lives. Our lives are going on all the time, but it seems like we're not very often there to experience it. When we're on the bus, we're thinking about what's next, or we're thinking about what just happened or what happened 5 years ago. When we're in our classes, we're trying to figure out where we're going from here, what we're going to do with this information. When we're on our job, we're worried about what our kids are doing, what our parents are doing, what we're going to do when we get home. Maybe once in a while, we have a sudden surprise, and for just an instant, we arrive in our lives. Just an instant. And it's kind of scary, but it's got this sort of wonderful, sparkly presence to it. But very quickly, that mind starts to pick up speed again, and we're sort of whisked away into the world of past and future. So Zen practice, this simple thing that we engage in on Tuesday nights for a little while, is an opportunity for us to slowly and gently find our way back home, to allow the distractions of past and future to slip away, to let them drop off, to let them go, and to find ourselves in this simple unfolding activity of this very moment. Sitting is, I think, possibly the most simple activity that we can engage in this way. At least the simplest without completely falling asleep. Maybe we could lie down and do zazen, but I'd last about 2 minutes before I'd so completely forget about self that I'd be snoring. But what happens in zazen is that we experience what it is to be truly alive, to be truly engaged with this simple activity of sitting and breathing. And in this simple activity of sitting and breathing, we find that this person that we're always thinking about, this thing that we call I, comes and goes. As we sit, paying attention to this unfolding activity, we find that this concern, this thinking about me, who I am, what I'm doing, disappears. And at once we're immersed in the unfolding activity before us. Just this simple activity of breathing. But in this moment, there's nobody doing the breathing. There is nothing being breathed. This whole cosmos is manifesting as the activity of breathing. All of these activities that we do on a Tuesday night are no different. We think of them as different. Oh, now we're standing up and walking, and now we're chanting. But when we're talking about Zen practice, we're a little bit less concerned about the physical manifestation of what we're doing and more concerned about what's going on with me, with I. And each of these transitions that we do, each of these different forms that we do, are an opportunity for us to see that I arising, that I dissolving. For example, listening to the chanting tonight. We do, before we do chanting, we do this little exercise because I find that sometimes when you give people a sort of a piece of paper with a bunch of words like Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva on it, they get all freaky. They go, whoa, this is some kind of religious thing. I don't know. This is the I coming up, incidentally. But what we like to do here before we get into the religious material is we just like to make some sound, because generally I find people are a little bit more relaxed about that. So the Densu, when he's not dying of some kind of illness, starts us off by just making this humming sound. And immediately we can feel this sensation in our chest when we're not familiar with that. We kind of react and go, what's going on? What's with the guy that's humming? And then everybody else who's been here before and who knows the kind of drill starts to hum as well. All together we're humming. And this is a great invitation. And for those of us who are new, or for those of us who are a little bit nervous, that invitation can be really scary, because it's on the one hand very warm and inviting, and on the other hand it asks us to step outside of ourselves. I can have my own little trip if I'm just sitting here on the cushion, but if I start humming with everybody, I kind of have to let go of my self-concern and slip into the pool with everybody else. And so I hope that when there's this humming going on, that you're able to do this. But even if you're not, you're still engaging in Zen practice. Because this feeling, this sort of internal conflict that arises as soon as there's this sound and you go, oh, everybody's chanting and I think I'm supposed to chant too, like this I pops up. And you've got to look at it. What's going on? Why do I feel so freaky about this? Why can't I just... Because we're not chanting the religious material, we're just humming. You probably do it every day. Walking down the street, on your way to classes, brushing your teeth. Maybe it's hard to hum while you're brushing your teeth. And then we up the ante with the next bell after a few breaths of humming together. And we open our mouths and we make this sound, ah, because it's much more loud, it's much more engaging. And if we pay attention, we find that it's a much stronger invitation to dissolving the self. And even as we engage in this dissolution of self through sound, we can see that the I, or the self-concern, sort of arises, and we're thinking of, oh, this sounds cool, and aren't I? I'm really participating in this. And then again we disappear and just become the manifestation of sound. There's a whole lot going on in chanting, and I could go on and on for like hours. We can't do it by ourselves. We can't sustain it, and we find that as we run out of breath, we rely on the people around us to support the sound while we inhale. And this is pratitya samutpada, interdependent origination. We engage in this activity together. When we walk, it's no different. This activity of walking in step invites us to let go of this self that we used to hold ourselves apart from our world and dissolve into. Over and over again, all of the forms, all the aspects of practice that we use here are nothing other than this simple practice, this investigation of witnessing the arising of this thing that we call a self, and experiencing its dissolution. All of our lives, our culture, our society encourages us to more and more clearly define this thing. Who are you? What do you do? What are you good at? What are you terrible at? What do you like? What don't you like? What do you have? And we all really acclimatize to this, and more clearly, more and more precisely define this thing that we think we are. Sometimes we can be really proud of that thing. Sometimes we can think, that it's a really wonderful thing. Sometimes we think we've got it all, everything that we need. But the flip side of this is that the more and more clearly, the more and more precisely we define what it is that we are, we also are more and more clearly defining innumerable things that we are not, that we don't have, that we're afraid of, that we don't like, that we don't want. And inevitably, the more clearly we define who we are, the more fixed we become on that definition, the more we are brought to suffer. Because we forget a fundamental truth. We are one. We arise from a single origin, together with all things in this vast cosmos. Every week that I'm here, I teach this over and over and over again. And more than telling you, we offer this space, this environment, for you to experience it for yourselves. We offer this opportunity for you to come here and allow all of the stuff that you've been building up in your head, all of the things that you are and must be and must have, allow them to crash to the floor, or if you like, to melt gently to the floor. And allow yourself to be immersed in the completeness of your true nature. Over and over again, we find that we can manifest in innumerable ways. Over and over again, we find that this thing that we call a self is not so fixed, is not so permanent, and it certainly isn't separate. So in Zen, whether we're practicing sitting, or whether we're practicing chanting, or whether we're practicing walking, or whether we're practicing writing, or painting, or martial arts, our practice is to first allow this self, allow this I that we've created, allow this character to dissolve away and to immerse, to dissolve into this origin. Zero is one of the ways that my teacher expressed it. And then, turning, we manifest out of this space, knowing, having experienced our nature, into a song, into a poem, into a painting, into a dance. There is no limit. There is nothing that is off the table when it comes to manifesting. For no matter how we manifest, we are always manifesting from our origin. How long have I been talking? Okay, I'm going to end there. My apologies. I just returned from Sesshin, so I'm like a house on fire. So thank you for your patience. Hey. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.